Hello there! Welcome back to Charles Circle, and welcome back to Captain of Industry. Last time, we completed our fertilizer expansion to finally meet the full needs of our farming eco, but hopefully also to soon export excess ammonia. Just in time too, because we need that excess ammonia to create chemical fuel as an input for space station parts. And that's because today, we're breaking ground on our space center. We'll need to create a rocket production facility, produce the space station parts themselves, and build a launch pad to get it all up into orbit. Without further ado then, let's get into it. Alright, so today's to-dos in a much simplified view, which is great news, was able to clean up that long-term project tracker. Since we have completed the long-term project, we are at the space station stage. So today we're going to start building, probably not complete, but definitely get moving on the Space Center, which is where we're going to produce all of our space station parts, the rocket assembly, and the launch facility. So this is going to have sort of three chunks, I would say. The first is around composite panel production. That's our core space material for this point in time. The next is the space station part production, which is the bits that will actually be required for us to assemble a space station up in orbit. And the last is, well, we're going to have to put together some rockets to strap those parts to and give them a launch pad to blast off up into orbit off of. So let's maybe start by talking about what those parts are and how we're going to put them all together and why we're going to do them here, because spoiler alert, this is where we're going to have our space center. So in order to deploy a space station, we go and click on the space station button and click the deploy space station button. And as you'll see, in order to complete the space station phase 1, we have to deliver 80 station parts basic, deliver via a rocket launch. But we have to put these together before there's anything to launch up on a rocket. So how does that all work out? Well, let's start with those station parts, I suppose. These station parts, basic, there is a more advanced version of this, and it is not something you use this as an input for, so all of this production will get sort of ripped out and replaced with a parallel, similar set of productions that will make the non-basic version of station parts. We'll talk about that later. But for now, what we need is a composite core basic. There will be a non-basic version of that as well. The OG version of solar cells, right? So we're about to unlock a more advanced version of it, but this is the one that we have had the recipe for quite some time. It's mostly silicon poly, right? But we haven't really set up a proper production for this because solar's just not really been a big part of our electricity strategy to this point. Easy enough to do though. We've done it before, we'll do it again. The other piece that we'll need is this chemical fuel. Let's touch on chemical fuel real quick. Chemical fuel requires a little bit of aluminum, I guess, to make these canisters, but is otherwise equal parts fuel gas and ammonia. This ammonia piece is why I really wanted to prioritize getting our fertilizer all set up more robustly last time, because as part of that, we set up a lot of backup ammonia production. So we're not just relying on sour water stripping, and we should have the ability to export any excess that we are making. And we are already making some, and as we finally back up on all of our fertilizer needs around the entire map, we should be exporting a higher and higher proportion of that. So that is just in time. So that's done in this chemical plant too. And relatively straightforward. This was actually the one piece that will not change between these two recipes. So here we go from white to yellow for basic to sort of normal, I guess. And the composite core basic has the same thing parallel here. So it's just these two get leveled up to make this leveled up version in the future. So what else do we need? Well, that composite core right here, that core part that goes into the station parts recipe is a little bit of electronics too, a chunk of steel, but mostly composite panel. And composite panel is this big thing that we're going to make out of our aluminum. There's a sprinkle of steel and a sprinkle of plastic that goes into it as well, but it's predominantly aluminum. And as I mentioned, we need it for the The cores, we need them for the non-basic version as well in the future, although instead of steel it'll be titanium, and instead of electronics 2 it'll be 3. But we also need it in high volumes every time we want to build a rocket. So this is going to be the thing we need a lot of, and this will be the thing we run short on that'll force us to increase our aluminum production, right? So that's really the fundamental driver of the space eco, is this composite core, or this composite panel production. And so in order to make it, and to do so with scalability in mind, we just need to make a row of assemblies, and I'm going to have a pretty sizable internal buffer because, well, one, we need a lot of it, but two, it's consumed, you know, think about how we build trains or trucks, other vehicles. It's in bursts. Every time you need one of these, you got to flow in 300 real quick. So we'll need to have a bunch of that at the ready, and I don't want to have to manufacture it on demand every single time. The two things you may have seen that we'll need in much smaller volumes, but not 0 volumes, is steel and electronics 2. Now, fortunately, we need those two things in this area right already to produce the panels, and the electronics 2 also go into these core basics. So this all works nicely together, near each other. The solar cell production is the last building here to tie it all together, and that requires this, as we said, silicon poly, touch of glass, sprinkle of steel. So steel goes like 4 different places here. It's nice to have it all together so we don't have to set this up a bunch of different times in parallel. So why here? Well, we do a lot of our more advanced manufacturing over on St. Charles. It's a reasonable question why we wouldn't do it over here by default. But if you look at the materials that we require, some of these we have already on St. Charles, some of them we do not. So aluminum, we were planning, and will still plan, to continue this sort of export warehouse model and actually import it over here. We're going to do our consumer electronics, I think, over this way in the future, spoiler alert. But we don't yet have it out there. It wouldn't change our plans to get that set up to do this part on St. Charles, no problem. But the other things that we don't yet have on St. Charles, at least in the volumes that we need, are silicon, poly, and plastic. So plastic, we actually do have a little bit. We currently export any excess plastic from our medical supplies 2 module, but that is sugar-derived ethanol-fueled plastic. And I don't think we make enough sugar, nor do we really want to make enough sugar, to scale up to produce like a space station out of sugar. So I think it's probably best that we only use this plastic to fuel essentially the snack production, which is the only reason it's on the rail right now, but we don't need very much of that in order to keep that going. That's why that works so far. I don't think it scales up beyond that very nicely. We could set up plastic production at this refinery and put it onto the rail. There's a little bit of putting stuff on the rail work that I want to do in this area soon anyway. And, you know, there's a rationale to do that, but it would be more work than pulling it right off of the rail at this refinery, which is already here and quite close and on the network. So I think advantage Silicon Ridge on the plastic front as well. Silicon is only actually produced right now on Silicon Ridge. We have tons of it. These are not quite at 100% yet, so there's a little bit of excess capacity, and also we've already set it up so that we can double it quite quickly if we want to. It's already on the network. Again, we could set up an export if we wanted to. It's just more steps, and I don't think we really need it for anything else, frankly, out that way. So I think we're gonna keep all of this production out here. No matter what, right? Ammonia is going to be brought in via rail. That's already planned. We have fuel gas coming in via rail. We are going to need some water and hydrogen, actually, for the rocket launch pad stage of things. We'll talk about it in more detail when we get to it, but these, again, are things that we bring in via rail already a bunch of different places, so it's really sort of location agnostic in my mind. So that's the idea. I think what we will probably do is go ahead and get it all set up here, sort of parallel over this center line for the, we'll have the settlement on this side, active mine over here, obviously, so we're going to need to leave some room, but I think we'll probably use this area here. I think maybe just a couple things design-wise to keep in mind. I'm going to try to get the train stations as far in this direction as I can. We're going to make them looping returns, but I guess the idea here is basically, if we really want to go far into the space program, this has to scale up. We're going to need like multiple launch pads, multiple assembly depots, and so on and so forth. And as I already mentioned, we're going to have to rip out the guts of these productions and replace them with the non-basic parts as well. So I want to leave us a lot of room to work here. And I think just kind of tucking the train station into the corner as much as I can is going to be one of our primary goals here. But we'll, of course, have to connect all of this up and get something moving all at once. One last item, I think maybe just to point out from a how we arrange and locate these things perspective, these are both new buildings, of course, right? The rocket launch pad does what it says on the tin, so does the rocket assembly depot. Something to know about the assembly depot, though. You can rotate it, you can't flip it. I'm trying, it won't let me. So you'll have to be, I think, thoughtful in your placement there if you intend to use the direct feeds. And it's worth keeping that in mind, how you orient it from where you're going to be feeding it from. And as you can see, it has a little, this is where the rocket will come out, this entrance here, this hangar, and you need to keep that clear. And at least the last time I built one of these, which admittedly hasn't happened in Update 4 yet, but the rockets themselves, well, I can tell you they're definitely still slow as hell, and they meander, so you kind of want to make sure you have a nice, clear, clean path, but they don't like ramps, so you can't, like again, if you wanted to bring your belts over like this, well, don't do it here under a ramp. That is going to keep the rocket from being able to navigate that area. Water for sound suppression, I think, every time we launch. I think that's the last thing I didn't quite mention. Oh, and finally, totally no-sold it, 160 workers. By the way, we need our third settlement soon. Like, probably before we finish all of this production, it'll be required. I already unloaded the boat in anticipation of this, so I don't have any more quick tricks. It would be about turning off otherwise active productions to afford these things. So, something to keep in mind. And another reason we're not going to sprint through this all to get it done all in one go here. I think we're going to try to get the first stage or two going while also handling a handful of other smaller things around the base. I feel like I keep getting excited and sprinting ahead and then, you know, realizing, oh my gosh, we've got all these other smaller things that need sorted out. So I'm going to try to keep things a bit more balanced this episode and slow roll this, but we'll still make plenty of progress if I had to guess. So I think, yeah, the first thing I will do from here is get our rail connection set up. Kind of just come in like so, loop back around, dump back out into that same ramp, and then get everything sort of connected up to our production facility. So I'm gonna hop in and start with the rails at least. I think this works. A little bit of a crossover, sort of inevitable, I suppose. And what we'll do is I put all the liquids on this side just because it's easier to run pipes across tracks. So anytime we would either have like an enormously long station set, of late at least, sort of putting the liquid ones on the side that has to cross the rails. I don't know, it's purely aesthetic, I think, but it's a little bit easier to build. And this will all be electric, right? Because we want it to be serviced, at least in part, by the local network. I do think we probably also need to allow the turbine train network, although is that only true on the liquid side, maybe? Yeah, so I think we'll start that way, but let's see how that shakes out. All right, I think that makes sense. And we'll let our trucks start to build all this at least. and then we'll start thinking about where to place the rest of this stuff. I do have a couple other odds and ends, though, that I wanted to take care of. Last time we got our new cargo depot over here set up for our sulfur to coal export contract. That is something that we needed to scale up and put onto rail because, oh my god, we are so full on sulfur out here from scrubbing exhaust from our steel factory. And again, we're full on steel, so it's not an acute emergency, but this is a really dumb thing to keep us from being able to keep up on steel if and when that happens. So I do want to get that onto rail. And of course, we'll also need to get this cargo dock transitioned over there. So what we'll do, I think, is go ahead and clean all of this up. So I'm going to hop in and take care of that too. So once that's cleaned up, the cargo ship itself can be reassigned, and we'll come in over here. Next step will be to get some rail connections set up and the right modules. And in fact, are these large loose modules? I suppose we might as well slot a few of those in here, and we will get to building them too. Other thing I'm thinking about, while I was considering, do we want to put plastic and or rubber, for whatever that's worth, onto the rail from this refinery, there's just a lot of updating that needs done here. Some of it is getting stuff onto rail, some of it's cleaning up other things and changing how we prioritize. I'm going to at least start cleaning some stuff up here just to make it simpler once we do it. I don't want to have to do it all in this grand, massive thing. And so one of the things that we can do is stop producing chlorine here entirely, because we have our new massive chlorine production out this way. In order to keep things going over here, right, we do still need some water. So we're gonna have to dump the brine again. And we've gone, I think, probably back and forth on this more than once at this point in the playthrough. Eventually, we'll settle in the longer, however we decide to do this in the very long run. But right now, we do still need to be able to dump some of this brine, and in fact, all of this brine now. So I'm going to make sure that we still maintain that connection. I'm gonna get these things built right away, actually, but we no longer need this, and we don't need to be bringing salt in either anymore, right? Is that right? Yeah, because that was also for the chlorine production backfill. That's right. Yep. So let's go ahead and clean all of that up as well. And then the other thing I know with a pretty high degree of certainty that we're done with is the biomass production out here. We are putting all of our biomass into the junkyard at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up this boiler and everything that he connects to, just to, again, simplify things here for us. We are still sending some steam via the trash incineration work that we need to do over here. And I do believe, unfortunately, we need to have some steam still going so that we have, actually no, that's right, we have these still as backups. All right, so I can keep this paused unless and until we have power issues, he said, immediately jinxing things. Anyway, this should be okay. Also, this mine tower has been hiding here for ages. Let's clean that up too. And with the modules gone, it's time to clean up the cargo depot itself. That should send this fella, the SCS Ryan Solomon, out to the world map for a quick reset and then settle in here. All right, a little while later, that dock is gone, and this one is here, assigned to the right contract with the right ship and the right fuel. Now we just need to get the right ingredients split and some train stations hooked up. So I guess I'll hop in and take care of that. All right, well, it breaks the roads, of course. What else is new? But I think we're going to end up adjusting that sort of approach through here anyway. We definitely need to make room in the next iteration. For example, over here for storages adjacent directly to these loose modules. I think just to make sure that these things actually keep flowing through times of mining related bursts in dirt or rock or whatever. So I've tried to do that here, even though it's really not going to be a huge volume of sulfur or coal that comes through here, I don't think. But sort of thinking about it as a best practice and how I want to do the rest of the way through, given that we are in the very late game and we should be thinking with those types of volumes. So I think we're gonna go ahead and build all this, and I might even save our trucks the trouble. Yep. And hopefully this all gets going pretty quickly. We need to make sure that, of course, the correct networks are servicing. The turbine train network is going to be our primary one here. Do we want to add anything else, or is that just going to cause trouble for us? Where are we going to send the coal otherwise, I guess, is one question. I suppose it's here. This is the other area we allow the turbine train network to drop off coal. Right now it only comes from out here. But we would instead push it from here to that supply. This supply is for the St. Charles manufacturing network, but it's pretty temporary still at this point. We just have to scrape the last bits of this mine out. That said, there's more here than I think all the time, pretty much, so temporary.tm. At any rate, let's see how this works. Mostly it's just about let's get the sulfur dropped off to start, but if we have coal distribution issues, we'll deal with them as they arise. But I think that's going to be a strong start for us, and in fact there's already some sulfur on the way. Alright, so I am going to go ahead and convert all of our little flatbed wagons up to 2Xers. It's just too much for these guys to be floating around causing all that much traffic. There's a few other things we can do to get them more out of the way, but really I think it's fundamentally going to be a pretty important step for us. It's just solving the same problem that we solved last time, by the way, right? For the construction parts factory, right? We set up a separate network for that needed double long trains because it was higher volume, right? Now we want higher volume for a different reason, it's just to reduce traffic, but it's the same general concept. So what I'm going to do mechanically is just go in and take our construction parts supply network and just take those 6 trains, move them over mechanically to the St. Charles manufacturing network, and then upgrade every single one of these smaller ones into a double length. I think, for now at least, we'll stay on single length for the hopper and tanker wagons, but that will be the next change that we make. It's just much smaller. There's only a handful of those. So I will probably just do that real quick. I might not even show this in a time lapse because it's rather boring and going to take me a second. So let me take care of that for us real quick. All right, I think that's it. I've also condensed the same Silicon Ridge materials import. It was the same set of train or same type of train. And so I think I have all of the correct stations. Inevitably, something's broken. I just don't know what it is yet. But I think we have all the ones that I was tracking moved over. So the next thing to do is to take every one of these trains and pop it out and replace it with one of these. And we'll crush every other one of them so that we are roughly staying on the same capacity. Hopefully that will go smoothly. Well, we'll see how this goes. I'll speed it along with Unity when I am able to, but I'm hoping that is a helpful adjustment in this area just to have fewer locomotives going around because there are a few of them. And it gets better and worse, but this will hopefully help. Out here, we got our first sulfur, still on the way. But hopefully that means that out this way, yep, that's exactly who it is. Check it out. Perfect. So this will drain a good chunk of this sulfur, which I'm very happy about. And our red mud, I actually realized, needed the turbine train network's throughput as well. The local Silicon Ridge network was not keeping up, and we were capping over here, and it was slowing down our aluminum production. That and the occasional electric blip, but we had been hurting a little bit, so good to get that sorted out as well. That's what I mean. There's a lot of little things we still need to be working on because, oh right, that's right, it's still a space station episode. Good news. In the meanwhile, a lot of our parts are filling in here. Let's make sure that we bring aluminum in here with higher demand than we do for the warehouse. And in fact, let's just have that be we accept it, but over here we push the aluminum out like so. So that should send all of it here before any of it goes here, but this should stay full as long as there's some here to send around. Cool. I suppose the next thing to do would be to think about getting these machines built and wired up. Alright, so I think this will work for now at least. We're not going to build the second rocket assembly depot just yet. I wanted to make sure that I left room to get a stack of belts right back in through here, because again, we don't want to go over the entrances. But I think that'll work. As I mentioned, we're going to have a decently sized composite panel buffer in here because these will be consumed in bursts. And yeah, everything else is just pretty straightforward, if extensive spaghetti. So it's as organized as best as it can be, and you know what? Let's do our favorite little trick there. Hopefully that cleans it up a tiny bit. But otherwise, over here, the pipes, right? I've brought water and hydrogen out this way. We'll get to it when we get to it, but that's where that's going. The fuel gas and ammonia come over here for the chemical fuel. That feeds in here for the station parts basic, along with a long pair of out and around belts for the composite core and solar cells. Again, keeping in mind that a lot of this production is going to get ripped out and replaced, I do think we'll probably build out into this area if we need to scale it a bit further, which seems likely, but I think keeping all of this nice and tidy in this zone will work for us for now. Skip forward 4 episodes and I'm cursing myself for not leaving more room here, but we can always rebuild and adjust if we need to. I think it'll work. Cool. So I'm gonna say build all of the production and belts and pipes, but not yet the rocket assembly depot or the rocket launch pad. So that'll be our next phase of construction while we get back to checking the base for other bits of nonsense to solve. Still playing whack-a-mole with those turbine trains that are trying to turn around in odd spaces. So I'm gonna keep an eye out for some of those, see if I can figure out where that's coming from. Yep, so we're keeping up on sulfur export over here, which is good. Prevented a future theoretical steel issue with that. Good to get out ahead of. We even seem to be, doing well on the red mud export now too. So aluminum is going, pretty close to 100% in recent months. Good. Good to see there. We are also, I think, in a lot of places pretty good on fertilizer. So if I check our other farms, we're doing just fine over here. And even out this way, good. So fertilizer should be backing up soon. Let's take a peek at it. Yeah, that's quite full. Very good. So, and as we can see, as predicted, as hoped, we have excess ammonia too, so that shouldn't be a problem to ship out. By the way, not just to our new space production, right? But we do need that still over here, for example, for our medical supplies. So it's a good thing that we have it out on the network more robustly. But this is also obviously a dead set requirement for us. So I think I'm going to speed this up with some Unity. And nope, not like that. Hopefully now we will get, well, we need some aluminum in here first, but it's on the way. Once that is in, we can get some composite panels built up, which is going to be very nice for us to have. Need that ammonia in here too. So something else we can do actually to clean up out here is we don't need to send naphtha anywhere via truck. And in fact, our truck network is occasionally grabbing it and manually running it out here, I guess, to backfill on power or something. Whatever it is, it's not desired or intended behavior. So what we're going to do is flip this around, drain it back in here, and when it's empty, we'll clear it out. This is leftover from when we used to carry naphtha out to, gosh, like here-ish for plastic for Med Supplies 1 maybe? I think that's right. It's been a minute now, so I guess that's kind of the point, huh? Similarly, it'd be nice to get our ammonia out onto rail along with sulfur. Now that those are things we are capable of doing, it might be good to import fuel gas just to make sure that we always have some for our incineration plants. Probably be worthwhile to also import our limestone, export our slag, so on and so forth, but we're not going to do it quite yet. Just going to take care of those easy, no regret cleanup moves here. So I will grab those 2 deconstructions and maybe this one too. Never really needed this as a full-on buffer, but we'll make sure that this is connected up as well. This hydrogen, as a reminder, is only here to fuel our cracking efforts for any excess naphtha and heavy oil. So we mostly just take whatever fuel gas we have excess here and turn it into local hydrogen, but that's never been quite enough, so we are bringing a bit in here by truck too. So a lot of this is just outdated but functional, but outdated but functional, but outdated. So we really should take care of it soon. Go ahead and get this all cleaned up as well. There we go. Things are looking good out here. We've got composite panels starting to build up and feeding in to our components for our basic station parts. Love to see that. The one thing we are still missing is the chemical fuel production because we don't yet have ammonia out here. I think we are probably making enough at baseline. The issue is just going to be we need to generate quickly a sort of a starting buffer, right? In order to trigger one of these trains to run, we need at least so much. So I think what I might do is temporarily boost these machines. We've got plenty of hydrogen built up in here. That's no issue. The only thing that could be would be the hydrogen or the nitrogen, but good news, my otherwise unnecessary buffers here have actually served some sort of purpose. So great. We'll chew through that and hopefully have enough ammonia to send out that way soon. All right, so one of the things I'm going to do actually out this way is remove the Silicon Ridge network from the set of stations. We're more than capable of handling these 4 goods on the turbine train network. It's kind of monopolizing this guy's time, which wouldn't be an issue, except he's the only fluid train on this network, and it's starting to trickle down into hydrogen delivery issues, which is causing our silica to drop a little bit. So, I mean, of course, we could just add to our network more of those fluid trains, but we totally have that already with higher volume, higher throughput. So I think we leave that to the turbine train network instead. Let's go in and remove the steel factory hydrogen supply station. Very good. And by the way, checking in on our bauxite mining island out here, we never actually named it. So thank you to Kraus for pointing that out. I don't know, I guess I just sort of thought it was part in my mind of St. Charles because it's so small and behind this ridge, but like we've built an enormous bridge to it. So if we've got a big old bridge and a large nuclear train running to it, I think it's its own island and it deserves its own name. And Kraus's suggestion, the name to beat, is the Pride of Higara, which is the mothership from Homeworld. I never played much, but I can see the resemblance, having done a quick image search. So, as I said, that's the name to beat. Let me know if you like it. If you've got another suggestion, of course, fire away in the comments. But any other way, thank you again, Kraus, for pointing that out. It's a fun thing. I like naming these islands, and it's a good way to get everyone participating too, which is fun. So, much appreciated. And if you've got ideas, let them rip in the comments. We've also made some very good progress out here on the new Harborfront terraforming project. So as we continue to trim away the requirement to dump more rock in this area, we can probably move over and start to fill in with dirt again. So, gosh, where is this? It's like this mine tower, right? Ridiculous. That's all right, though. Let's move it over to here. This is the one that allows us to dump dirt, the only place on the island, I believe. That's the intention, at least. And let's dump it all the way to here to start. This little ramp right here is the only way up and down for now. Once this gets filled in, it doesn't matter anymore because they'll drive on the dirt. But let's make sure that they still have a way to get in there and do their job until then. But cool, this is coming along. And this use of our landfill has helpfully not annihilated our export-based economy here. So I know this looks low for now, but it's the only time it's really been low in quite some time. High supply of pressed recyclables. It's a little dramatic, 50% feels like. Probably shouldn't yell at me unless it's full. So let's say that. Otherwise though, I think the settlement delivery model is really holding up well. We've got everything we need here, with the, exception, of course, still of consumer electronics that we still need to deliver. And I will say that the luxury goods is a little hit or miss. It does come out. The real issue is that this, right, is a terminus station. And in fact, it's this guy picking them up for that settlement right now. But as a result, we're not supplying luxury goods at all out here. That's fine. It's not the end of the world. It's half our population. And one good, so not the biggest hit on Unity. We're obviously doing fine without it. But I do want to, I think I've sort of half previewed this, but I do want to centralize gold production, probably out here, and centralize toxic slurry processing in this exhaust scrubbing area. There's a lot of overlap in what we'd be consuming and producing, and we can throw this all into a pipeline, cross the tracks here, but it's the same thing, right, that we have to handle out here for uranium. So I think centralized processing for that would be a nice thing to have in this area. And of course we use a lot of gold out this way for Electronics 3. So eventually this whole under the bridge processing of gold, including the ridiculous gold pavers that I've put down, will be replaced and will simply run the ore out to Silicon Ridge. Not for today though, just not quite a priority just yet. Other thing we could do would be to get this onto the network finally. So maybe I will sketch out a set of train stations here real quick. All right, I think this works. Suddenly, this is now a rail-operated scrubber, including we have graphite export as well. Backwards turbine train. So I should pave, but I think other than that, we're just gonna wait on the delivery of these goods, mostly actually just the limestone, on the St. Charles Manufacturing Network. So there we go. I did decide, I thought about it and decided let's just leave this in for now. I still, I think we've covered that this is not hugely impressive, but it's not the end of the world to supply it. I think I might tidy up some of this piping though. Hang on a tick. Actually, now that I look at it, we don't need this anymore. So, all right, we can take a cleaner pass at this. All right, I've talked myself into it. This is all going. I'll be back again. All right, I think this works. May need to, actually, now that I look at it, extend this a little bit so that our longer trains can work with it. But hopefully we get our limestone in here shortly. Looks like it's on the way already. Very good. So this is now officially on rail. We've preserved a bit of crossing as well, which is good. Apparently, we need to get our mega excavators out there from time to time. Interesting. But this is... There's still, I don't know, some optimization to be done in this area. This set of stations could be cleaner, but this is a good start. I feel good about that. Hey, check out this error, which means we have a full output of, well, 4 basic station parts. We're gonna, I think, just run them directly into the launch pad eventually. But I suppose a buffer wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. So let's maybe set something like that up here. I don't know, how about there? So the way that this will end up working is we will have to deliver, one way or another, the goods that we want to launch in the rocket. And so, as always, we could do that by truck, train, belt, everything but Zeppelin. So we are, I think, going to try to belt this here, try to maintain a low truck profile, operationally speaking, for our space program as much as any other industry. So we'll try to connect them up directly for now, but there's a handful of different things we're going to have to provide. So once we have crew up in the air, we're going to have to provide the food packs, right, that we used as part of the rationale for all the farming rework we did. So we'll have to probably have a train station that drops off a bunch of stuff. I don't want to manufacture every single possible little thing out this way, I don't think. But for now, it'll just be this belted directly over. Of course, can't do anything with it until we have a rocket. And can't build a rocket until we have a rocket assembly depot, but we are not doing great on the worker front here. So I think I'll scrounge up 50 some workers just so that we can get these things built. I guess 80 some workers, geez. Just so that we can get these things built, but in order to sort of operate more continuously, I think we're gonna have to very soon set up our 3rd settlement. So start thinking about where that should go, huh? Kind of like the idea of getting one on this island somewhere. Got one on each island so far. And there's not a ton of space necessarily, but one of the things I'd been thinking was kind of want an excuse to build a bridge over this bay, huh? You think we could fit something out this way? Continue this train line, maybe have to rearrange some buildings to cut straight through if we really wanted to. But this feels like a good spot. Once we clear some trees, we've got a bit of iron out this way, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. And we'd even maybe be able to tap this reservoir if we wanted to cut through the mountains here. I don't know. Let's see. But that's kind of what I'm thinking. Let me know if you've got a better suggestion, though. I'm more than happy to hear it. And something tells me we're going to need a 4th before this whole thing's over anyway. So it may well be that you get your way, even if it's not immediate. You know what? We've got the Unity. We're building it. Let's do it here too. My goodness, yeah. That's quite the amount of parts. But we have that Unity, so we'll get those built, and then I'm gonna go prospecting for some inefficient uses of pops that we are currently somewhere making. I honestly don't even know. We might have to pause something just to build a rocket. I'm trying to think, normally where I go for, oh, we have pops we don't need, is the boat, it's research. We've been paused here for ages, right? So I don't really have much to say on that front. Our entire production chain is paused here. I suppose these could be paused as well, but that's really not going to be the difference maker. So yeah, I'll poke around off camera, see what I can find. Actually, I think, yes, here we go. This ore sorting plant, which is 30, is a good chunk. All right, let me do the boring stuff off camera. I'll come back to you when we are ready to click press rocket button. Found the pops more or less. This thing just takes forever, but here we are. Ta-da! Ta-da! Brilliant. Check this out. Very cool. So this is where we'll build a rocket. let's click that button. So it'll take a minute to run in all of these goods, but the electronics 2 is already sorted. Steel will be next, and I don't think we have... we might have the stockpile and composite panels, but it'll be pretty close if we do. So the other thing we need to do here, we can't fuel until we have the rocket attached, but we could run the water over. We do need the water no matter what. So maybe we'll do that real quick. That's our second level right here. So I suppose we'll just keep this elevated, come all the way out here and hook up. There we go. Shoot, thought I had that lined up, but I can't go any further in this direction or we hit the track, so that slight squiggle is gonna have to do it, alas. So be it. The parts are mostly saved up here. What do we need? 50, 80? All right, so we're still gonna wait there for a minute. I have done some boosting to balance out some ratios, and none of it matters because this is lowest priority on power and we are flickering. Another thing that we need to get going on for sure, once we have the space program in motion, is a lot of this research on the other side of our research lab upgrade, including better nuclear. This requires space research points, which is something that we get from the from maintaining a space station of a certain level, and we're not there yet. We're not going to be there even after this first round, so we're going to have to find a way to navigate generating power until then. I don't know, maybe I'll have to give up and finally build a second reactor. Possible. Maybe we will keep this around longer than I thought. Also possible, but we're gonna have to do something, I'm sure. Even our compute is starting to be an issue. Do we have the servers? We have the servers. The question becomes, do we have the electricity to run the servers? All right, good. We're back up over that line. Another thing. What happened? We have filled in here, which is great. So we'll get the dirt to fill in next. But then we'll be able to use this waterfront area, which is great. I do still think we want to increase the surface area available to us rather than just filling this in with, what, 2, 3, maybe 4 contracts here. We can create sort of a pier and another pier. And surface area is really the key issue there. So we'll do more terraforming, but this was the first, no matter what, this stuff has to happen. Pass at it, and happy to see that. And that our sulfur contract is working productively for us as well. Also good to see that. Well, maybe not the most impressive pathfinding by our little delivery agent, but other than that, pretty cool. Pretty cool to see. So that's it. That's the rocket. And I guess up here will eventually be loaded our payload. So now that we have a rocket here, you can see the other details. So we need to fuel the rocket, 140 hydrogen and 40 oxygen, which is why this guy's here and why this hydrogen pipe is here. And as you'll see, we can deliver 40 of our, well, any parts, but of our basic station parts, and or 4 crewed space members. And so you can see, well, you don't really, I guess, have a good feel for how often you have to rotate crew members and stuff, but we're going to need to be launching rockets with a relative frequency, and the pace will only increase over time. So right now, it really doesn't matter. There's nothing to maintain quite yet. We just need to get those first 80 basic space parts up into orbit. So what we will do now, I guess, is to just go ahead and get the oxygen delivered here, like so. We'll get ourselves a little smokestack, I suppose, to clear out the nitrogen. And then we need to bring over the hydrogen. And this one, I'm actually going to use this opportunity to come up a couple levels. So I do want to keep that belt flat on this row. So call it, I don't know, here, or, and here. So we will let this all charge up. It's going to take a second. We have plenty of hydrogen, but we'll have to run the air separator for a moment. Our power flickers are going to slow all of this down by, I don't know, 10%. That's all right. When it is ready to go, we'll press the launch button, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I didn't think we'd get this far in this episode. I guess I need to stop underestimating these things. What can you do? So be it, though. Pretty fun. Pretty fun milestone upcoming. So hang tight, and we will launch our first rocket of the playthrough. Pretty exciting. All right, a little while later, we are fueled up, hydrogen, oxygen, got water for sound suppression. I've selected the only product we're capable of delivering at this point, which is the station parts. We have a full load of 40, which will be enough for the first half of this space station. We are ready. You excited? First rocket launch of the playthrough. Pretty big deal. Let's go. Quite a bit in the credits here. A lot of great supporters. Very fun to see. Got to get ourselves into that content creator section, don't we? But we can now go back and finish flattening the entire island. So this was originally, I guess, sort of the finish line for the game, but as of this stage of development, there's plenty left to do. So we have plenty of stages of the space program left. Here it is, our little congratulations. There is, yep, as they say, plenty left to do. We can, of course, play basically endlessly, unlimitedly, but we have several levels of space station that we'll want to, as you can see we've delivered, that we'll want to continue to upgrade to, and that will have some interplay with the entire last section of the tech tree. A lot of good stuff in here yet. Electronics 4, additional orbital research with space research points, rocket 2s, asteroids, a lot of good stuff left to do here. So don't worry, we're not going anywhere just yet. Even beyond the milestones that the game gives you to pursue, of course, we can set any goals and targets of our own that we would want to play in the sort of the post game. So all that to say, it's a pretty big deal, but it's not the end of the playthrough, so don't worry about that. That is going to have to be all for today, though. As I said, that's further than I expected to get, but I'm not upset about it. Next time, we've definitely got to get a third settlement up and running, though, huh? I paused a lot of jobs that we're going to need back. I also a little bit worry that our hydrogen supply has been a little on the edge, as has been our electricity. So plenty yet to solve before we can consider our space program a sustainable core part of our base here, but I am looking forward to getting into it. If you are too, make sure to stop by again next episode. Until then, though, have a great rest of your day, and bye-bye.